What if I told you that Apple just launched their most controversial iPhone lineup in years? Not because it's bad, but because for the first time in forever, they actually listened to what we've been complaining about, mostly. I'm talking about 120Hz displays on all models, not just the Pro. I'm talking about cameras that can finally compete with Google's computational photography. And yes, I'm talking about that ultra-thin iPhone Air that everyone's been dreaming about since 2020. But here's what they don't want you to know. After spending the last 48 hours diving deep into every spec, every leaked carrier document, and yes, reading through hundreds of Reddit comments from actual users who've gone hands, there are some serious trade-offs that Apple glossed over in their presentation. And if you're thinking about upgrading, you need to know about them before you hit that pre-order button. Today, we're doing the most comprehensive breakdown of the iPhone 17 lineup you'll find anywhere. We'll cover the revolutionary iPhone 17 Air, the powerhouse Pro models, and I'll tell you exactly which one you should buy based on how you actually use your phone. Plus, we're not stopping there. The AirPods Pro 3 just dropped with features that sound too good to be true, and the Apple Watch Ultra 3 promises health monitoring that could literally save your life. But most importantly, I'm going to answer the question that is probably burning in your mind right now. Is this the year to finally upgrade? Or should you save your money and stick with what you have? I've been covering Apple for over 8 years, and I can honestly say this is the most conflicted I've ever felt about an iPhone launch. There's genuine innovation here, but also some decisions that make me question if Apple truly understands what their users want in 2025. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's dive deep into everything Apple announced, everything they didn't say, and most importantly, what it all means for you. And if you find this breakdown helpful, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. We've got tons more Apple coverage coming, including our full hands-on reviews once these devices ship. The iPhone 17 Air. This is Apple's answer to everyone who's been begging for a thinner iPhone since, well, forever. At just 7.95mm thick, it's the thinnest iPhone Apple has ever made. To put that in perspective, it's thinner than the iPhone 6, which was famously criticized for being too thin and prone to bending. But here's where it gets interesting. Apple claims they've resolved the structural integrity issues that plagued the iPhone 6. They were using a new titanium-aluminum hybrid frame that's supposedly 40% stronger than previous thin designs. However, and this is a big however, there are compromises. The iPhone 17 Air only has one speaker. Not stereo speakers like every other iPhone since the iPhone 7, just one. And they're not wrong about the battery concerns. The iPhone 17 Air packs a 3180 mAh battery. That's significantly smaller than the regular iPhone 17's 3650 mAh battery. Apple claims the A19 chip's efficiency improvements will offset the smaller battery. But in real-world testing scenarios, we're looking at probably 6 to 7 hours of screen-on time versus 8 to 9 hours on the regular iPhone 17. Now let's talk about what makes this phone special. The display is gorgeous, a 6.1-inch OLED with promotion technology. Yes, you heard that right. All 4 iPhones released in 2025 are expected to get promotion display technology with a 120Hz maximum refresh rate for smoother scrolling and video playback, which means that promotion will no longer be a feature limited to the Pro iPhone models. This is huge. For years, Apple has artificially limited 120Hz to their Pro models, forcing users to choose between a smooth experience and saving money. That artificial limitation is finally gone. The camera system is where things get really interesting. The iPhone 17 Air features a single 48MP main camera, but it's not just any 48MP sensor. Apple has implemented their new Fusion Optics technology. This system uses computational photography and the A19's enhanced neural engine to simulate multiple focal lengths from a single lens. It's essentially software-based optical zoom up to 3x. I was skeptical at first, but the early samples I've seen are impressive. It's not quite as good as a true telephoto lens, but it's miles better than digital zoom on previous iPhones. Significant upgrade. The analyst Min-Ki Kuo is predicting a 24MP selfie camera for the iPhone 17, a significant improvement on the 12MP. True diff cam that has been present since the iPhone 11 Pro Max. This might seem like just a numbers game, but the improved front camera means better portrait mode, better low light performance, and much sharper detail for all those FaceTime calls and Instagram stories. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: pricing. The iPhone 17 Air starts at $899 for 128GB. That's $100 more than the iPhone 16 base model launched at, but $200 less than the iPhone 17 Pro. Is it worth it? That depends entirely on your priorities. If you value having the thinnest, lightest iPhone possible and you're okay with some compromises on battery life and audio, then yes, absolutely. But if you're a power user who needs all-day battery life, or if you consume a lot of media and care about stereo audio, you might want to look at the regular iPhone 17 instead. Speaking of which, let's talk about the regular iPhone 17, because it might actually be the sleeper hit of this lineup. The standard iPhone 17 addresses most of the Air's compromises while still delivering those key upgrades everyone wanted. You get stereo speakers, a 3650 mAh battery for solid all-day life, and the same 120Hz promotion display. The camera system is also more capable. While you lose the ultra-thin profile, you gain a proper dual camera setup with a 4.8MP main sensor and a 1.2MP ultra-wide that can also shoot macro photos. Plus, there's one feature that Apple barely mentioned but that I think is actually revolutionary: the new action button implementation. Unlike the iPhone 15 Pro where the action button had limited customization, the iPhone 17 models let you program complex shortcuts. Think Siri shortcuts, but triggered by different press patterns. You can set a single press to toggle your smart home lights, a double press to start a voice recording, and a long press to activate your camera with specific settings pre-configured. This level of customization feels very Android-like, and frankly, it's about time. Power users are going to love this. But here's something that's been bothering me about Apple's presentation. They keep talking about how these phones are built for Apple Intelligence, but the features they demonstrated aren't really that different from what we saw with iOS 18. Yes, the A19 chip is faster. Yes, it can process more complex AI tasks on device. But the actual user-facing AI improvements seem incremental rather than revolutionary. Don't get me wrong, having better performance for AI tasks is great. But if you're upgrading primarily for AI capabilities, you might want to wait and see how these features actually perform in daily use. Something that's going to affect every iPhone 17 buyer: the color options. Apple has made some interesting choices this year. The iPhone 17 Air comes in silver, space gray, and a new cosmic rose color that's actually quite stunning in person. But if you want the full range of colors, you'll need to look at the regular iPhone 17. Here's where Apple's strategy gets frustrating. The most popular colors from previous generations, like deep purple or the Pacific blue, are notably absent from the Air lineup. It feels like Apple is still trying to segment their lineup in ways that don't really benefit consumers. If you want the thinnest iPhone, you have to accept limited color choices. If you want more colors, you can't have the thinnest design. But let's focus on the positives, because there are many. The build quality feels exceptional. The titanium aluminum hybrid frame has a premium feel that somewhere between the iPhone 15's aluminum and the Pro's titanium. And that thinness isn't just for show. In a world where pants pockets haven't gotten bigger, but phones have gotten thicker, the iPhone 17 Air feels refreshingly pocketable. My biggest concern, and I think this will be shared by many users, is long-term durability. Thin phones have historically been more prone to damage, and with how much we all depend on our phones today, that's a legitimate worry. Apple says they've addressed this with their new frame construction, but only real-world use over months and years will tell us if that's truly the case. But if durability is your main concern, or if you need the absolute best camera system Apple offers, then you'll want to look at the Pro models. And trust me, this year's Pro models are something special. The iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max represent what happens when Apple stops holding back. These aren't just incremental updates, they're genuine leaps forward in mobile technology. Let's start with the most obvious upgrade, the camera system. We've heard for a while that the 17 Pro and Pro Max would get improved telephoto camera systems. This doc says it will actually go up to 8x, compared to the 5x zoom found on iPhone 16 Pro models. But it's not just about the zoom range. All three rear cameras have been upgraded to 48MP sensors. Yes, even the ultra-wide and telephoto lenses now match the main camera's resolution. What does this mean in practical terms? It means you can shoot ProRAW photos at full resolution from any lens. It means your ultra-wide macro shots will have incredible detail. And it means that 8x zoom won't look like digital mush anymore. Apple calls this their Trinity camera system, and while the marketing name is cheesy, the results speak for themselves. Every photo I've seen from early reviewers shows a significant step up in image quality. There's also a new feature that Apple briefly mentioned but didn't really demonstrate: variable aperture on the main camera. This is something Android phones have had for years, but Apple's implementation looks more sophisticated. The aperture can adjust from f1.4 to f2.8 automatically based on the scene, or you can control it manually in the camera app. This gives you much better control over depth of field and low light performance. For video creators, and I know many of you watching are content creators, this is huge. You can now achieve proper cinematic bokeh without needing additional lens attachments. Speaking of video, the iPhone 17 Pro can now shoot 8K video at 30 fps. You heard that right, minus 8,000 on a phone. The file sizes are massive, but for professional work, having that resolution available is game-changing. But here's what's really impressive: the thermal management. Previous iPhones would overheat during extended video recording. There's also expected to be a dramatically improved cooling system in the Pro models. Apple has implemented what they call a vapor chamber cooling system, technology borrowed from gaming laptops and high-end Android phones. This should allow for sustained performance without throttling, thing that might actually be more important than cameras for most users' battery life. As rumored, the iPhone 17 Pro Max would become the first iPhone model to cross the 5,000 mAh battery capacity mark. With a 5,088 mAh battery, the device would have around an 8% larger battery compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is expected to be the first iPhone that has a battery over 5,000 mAh, and it could have the longest ever battery life that we've seen in an iPhone. Combined with the A19 Pro chip's efficiency improvements, Apple claims up to 12 hours of video streaming on the Pro Max. If that's accurate, this would be the first iPhone that could truly last a full day of heavy use without anxiety. The regular iPhone 17 Pro isn't left behind either. With a 4,350 mAh battery, about 300 mAh more than the iPhone 16 Pro. That might not sound like much, but it should translate to about an hour more screen time. But battery capacity is only part of the story. The A19 Pro chip is built on TSMC's new 3nm Plus process, which is more efficient than the 18 Pro's manufacturing process. In benchmarks, the A19 Pro is showing about 15% better performance and 20% better energy efficiency. For most daily tasks, you probably won't notice the performance difference. The 18 Pro was already overpowered for most uses. But that efficiency improvement? That's going to show up in your daily battery life, especially during intensive tasks like gaming or video recording. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, pricing. Apple's justification is the significantly improved camera system and larger batteries. But for many users, this pricing puts the Pro models out of reach. Here's my take. If you're a content creator, professional photographer, or someone who genuinely needs the absolute best mobile camera system available, the price increase is probably justified. But if you're just looking for a great phone with good cameras, the regular iPhone 17 at $799 is probably the better value proposition. You get 90% of the experience for significantly less money. There's one more thing about the Pro models that Apple didn't spend much time on, but that I think is actually quite important: the new Smart Island functionality. The dynamic island can now display more information and respond to gestures in more sophisticated ways. You can expand music controls, check sports scores, or monitor multiple timers without leaving your current app. It's still not as functional as a traditional notification bar, but it's moving in the right direction. Apple is slowly making the dynamic island more useful, rather than just a design flourish. Color options for the Pro models are interesting this year. Along with the traditional space black and silver, there's a new cosmic orange option that's quite bold for Apple. I have to admit, the cosmic orange looks fantastic in person. It's not as loud as some Android phone colors, but it's definitely more expressive than Apple's usual conservative palette. There's also a deep titanium option that's darker and more premium looking than the natural titanium we've seen before. Build quality on the Pro models feels exceptional. The titanium construction feels more refined than the iPhone 15 Pro, with better resistance to fingerprints and scratches. One concern I have is with the increased thickness needed to accommodate the larger batteries and cooling system. The Pro Max is now 8.9mm thick, still reasonable but definitely chunky. But honestly, if that extra thickness gives us better battery life and thermal performance, I think most users will gladly accept the trade-off. Before we move on to the accessories, let me give you my honest recommendation about the Pro models. If you're upgrading from an iPhone 14 Pro or older, the iPhone 17 Pro is a substantial upgrade. The camera improvements alone justify the cost if photography is important to you. But if you have an iPhone 15 Pro or 16 Pro, the decision is much harder. The improvements are real, but they're not necessarily worth $1,200 unless you have specific needs that the new features address. That said, if you're in the Apple ecosystem and plan to keep your phone for 4 to 5 years, the iPhone 17 Pro Max might be the best investment for future-proofing. Into every detail of the iPhone 17 lineup, the answer to "should I upgrade?" is more nuanced than ever. If you're coming from an iPhone 13 or older, any of the iPhone 17 models will feel like a big step forward. The combination of improved cameras, stronger battery life, and promotion displays across the lineup makes the upgrade worthwhile. iPhone 17 Air, the thinnest, lightest iPhone yet, but with compromises in battery and audio, is more style than practicality. iPhone 17 Standard, the sweet spot at $799. You get stereo speakers, a dual camera system, promotion, and all-day battery, the best balance for most people. iPhone 17 Pro, Pro Max, the pinnacle of Apple's engineering with the Trinity camera system, 8K video, and massive batteries. Incredible for creators and pros, but probably overkill for the average user. The best news? Apple finally removed artificial limitations like keeping 120Hz locked to Pro models. This year, every iPhone 17 feels more complete and future-ready. My pick for the average buyer: the regular iPhone 17. It hits the right balance of price, features, and performance, making it the model most people should consider. And that wraps up part 1 of our Apple event coverage. In part 2, we'll dive into the new AirPods and Apple Watch updates. From smarter health features to improved audio and AI integration, there's plenty more to explore. So stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown.